So we understand that there is a JavaScript graphing library, plotly.js, and which is open source, which means it is freely available. And then if we have to create some kind of interactive web-based graphs, then we can go for the plotly.js. We also understood that as the version 2, graphs created with the Plotly R package are rendered locally through the HTML widgets framework. Let's understand the basic 3D scatter plot. Library has a package Plotly that we have loaded. Now I'm using empty cars data with AM, where empty car equal to 0 is equated to automatic, and if empty cars which empty car AM equal to 1 is loaded with manual. So you can see that I'm trying to store the data in the form of 0 and 1, where two values are substituted, where one is automatic and the second one is manual. Now I'm trying to use empty cars $am, which is equal to as dot factor within brackets empty cars $am. So I'm using the factor function to find out the factors of empty car am, and I'm storing that in the empty cars $am. So students, we can see fig equals to plotly. Plotly is my function where I'm passing empty cars my data, x equals to wt, y equals to hp, z equals to qsec, color equals to am, colors equals to code. Two codes are there. I'm writing fig equals to fig greater than add markers and fig equals to fig greater than layout. So you can see over here scene, which is equal to list, x-axis equals to list title, y-axis is equal to title, and z-axis again is equal to title. So students, that is how we have created the basic 3D scatter plot. You can see over here that there are x, y, and z axis. So basically what we have to understand in these functions is that the first variable is always the database. Then we have the quadrants, that is the x, y, the axis, that is the x, y, and z. Sometimes we go for the colors, that what is the color, what are the codes, and then finally we try to give the layout. We call the layout function. So these are the basics of 3D scatter plot. Now let's understand Esquisse package in R programming. So students, packages in the R programming are a collection of R functions, compiled codes, and sample data. We all know that there is sample data on which we have compiled code, and there are certain R functions which we can use, and that comprises and altogether is called a package. They are stored under a directory called library in the R environment. So you can see there is a directory called library. R installs a set of packages during installation. Esquisse package helps to explore and visualize your data interactively. Suppose I want to see my data interactively, where I want to select certain things and I want to see how the data looks. So I'm trying to help and explore and visualize my data with the help of Esquisse package. So Esquisse package in R programming is basically a shiny gadget to create ggplot charts interactively with drag and drop to map your variables. So basically, suppose I have to create ggplot charts that we have discussed in previous lectures, and I want to interact with that drag and drop facility to map the variables, I can go for Esquisse package. One can quickly visualize the data according to their type, export to PNG or PowerPoint, and retrieve the code to reproduce the chart. So basically, one can quickly visualize the data according to their type, and we can even export that to PNG file or the PowerPoint file, and we can also retrieve the code to again produce the chart. We have to understand some important verb functions in Esquisse package. In Esquisse package, choose data module. It is a module for choosing data frame from the user environment and select variable to use. It gives the user an option to choose from a given list of available datasets to work on within a Shiny app. Syntax: choose data UI and within brackets ID. Choose data server and within brackets input output session, data equals to null, name equals to null, select vars equals to true, launch on start equals to true, default data is equal to null. So that is how we have created our data server, and we are choosing our data server. Installation: to use a package in R programming, one must have to install the package first. This task can be done using the command install packages and within brackets the package name. You can say source, within brackets I can pass the package name. I'm writing http://install.github.me/streamrs/esquisse. So that is my source, and then I pass install.packages esquisse. So I have installed esquisse package. Now we have to understand certain parameters for the installation. So let's have a look on this table. On the left hand side I have the parameters, and on the right hand side I have the description of the parameters. ID means module ID, input means standard Shiny input, output means standard Shiny output, session means standard Shiny session, data is data frame to use by default, name is equal to name of data, select vars is equal to logical true false, display menu to select variables to use in selected data frame, launch on start, launch model when application is launched. Default data, a character vector of data frames to choose along if there is no data frames in global environment. By default, data frames from ggplot2 are used. Import Shiny and Esquisse package. We have Shiny as the package we are loading from the library function. Likewise, Esquisse package is again loaded from the library function. Now I am creating a variable where I am calling a function fluidPage and I am passing tags $h2, choose the data module, comma, fluid row, and I am using column width equals to 4, tags $h4, default, using choose data UI. Choose data UI is equal to ID equals to choose 1. Verbatim text output is output ID equals to res1, and the bracket closes. So you can understand here that I am calling two functions. The first one is fluidPage, and within fluidPage there is fluid row. So basically why I am doing this, because I have to create a dynamic system where I can change the rows, select the rows, and the data can be selected from the choice. And that is how I am trying to use the fluidPage and fluid row functions. I create a variable server and equate that to function with input, output, and session. I call module, choose data server, ID equals to choose 1, launch on start equals to false, and store everything into the res.1 variable. Now I use output $res1 and there I call the function render print. Why render print? Because I have to print it on the screen. str, I pass reactive values to list where res.1 is the variable. So res.1 is the variable which is passed as the parameter over here. And then I call the Shiny app function. Within brackets, I pass UI as the first variable and server as the second. So you can see I created the UI variable where I was calling the functions fluidPage and fluid row. And on the contrary, server variable I created where I called the function input, output, session, and then I created a small function. And I'm passing UI in server as the parameters for Shiny app. So that's about how we can install a particular program and we can have some kind of important functions in Esquisse package. CRAN package. New CRAN package export that allows one to export an R plot in the currently active graphics device to either PowerPoint or Word. So basically, the idea is that the CRAN package exports that allows one to export R plot into a PowerPoint, or it can be into a Word, or it can be into a drawing or a one-liner with full support for transparency. So that is what CRAN package is. Library, and I call a function effects. I write fit equals to lm, prestige equals to type, income into education, data is prestige, and I call the plot function. In the plot, I pass effect, which is my package, and there I pass the values income and education, fit, multiline equals to true, chi.style equals to bands, graph to ppt is equal to file equals to ppt, width and height. That is how I'm creating the effect. Color picker. Color picker gives you a color picker widget which can be used in different contexts in R. The most common use of color picker are to use the color input function to create a color input in Shiny. Use the plot helper function RStudio adding to easily select colors for a plot. The color input function. A color input allows user to select a color by clicking on the desired color or by entering a valid color in the input box. Colors can be specified as either names blue, hex codes like hexadecimal codes 0000FF or RGB codes where red, green, blue code, the coding we can give 00255 or HSL code where we are giving 240, 150. Use allow transparent equals to true to allow selecting semi-transparent colors. Next, we have plot helpers. When this function is called using plot helper, the chosen colors are returned as a vector of colors. When this is run as an RStudio add-in, throughout the add-ins menu, the resulting code that includes the color vectors get inserted into the R document. So students, with this, let's summarize what we have done. We understood the concept of plot helper, the color input, color picker, library effects, grant package, codings related to and installations related to some Esquisse package, important functions in Esquisse package. We also understood the basic 3D scatter plot, how 3D scatter plots are created, what is Plotly library, what is Plotly package, how to create a network, how to create edges, how to create nodes and vertices, everything related to network graphs in R with Plotly package. We also understood the concept of contours, what are contours and how can we create contours in graphs. We also understood the concept of multiple axes, that how multiple axes can be created in R with R data and understand the data to some extent. With this, students, I end this lecture and I hope you all are able to understand the concept of R programming. I would request all the students to have a look of the tutorial and try hands-on experience on practicals so that you can understand how can we create good and beautiful plots. We can create multiple axis plots with the help of plot and par function. One over the other, we can pile up all the plots and we can have a lot of visual cues of our documents and our data very easily. I end this session. Thank you very much.